lizard.
Wild and wild.
Trying to catch a butterfly.
Wild and wonderful. Monster.
Felt like a butterfly.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, the final update for Monster Hunter Wilds happened recently, and along with it, we've had new equipment, and it's resulted in pretty good upgrades for builds that existed beforehand. But something that I think has gained a pretty significant increase is one of our more fun-focused builds, which is numbers. We all like numbers. Some people like big numbers, some people like lots of numbers, but how about a lot of big numbers in the form of extra damage procs that aren't from the weapon hits themselves, but bonus effects like Flayer, or Convert Element, or Scorcher, or Bad Blood, so on and so forth. Just lots and lots of fun numbers. And there's a surprising amount if you stack everything up together. That said, it's one thing to just have as many numbers as possible, and another to make the bonus numbers themselves do extra damage. And today we are going to essentially do both. In Title Update 4, we provided our set of many numbers builds, focused around stacking up as many of these different effects as possible while still being in a reasonably effective build as far as the raw attack that you can get to. Some of them leaning a bit more towards the gimmick, some leaning a bit more towards being genuinely effective builds, and to be clear, the one that I'll be presenting is the highest damage, which a bunch of these bonus numbers effects also on it, is literally a meta dragon element build for a few different weapons. So against anything that's weak to dragon, it is genuinely very, very good, and everything else is still at least reasonably good, because even without purposefully building them up, a number of these effects are just solid damage when they happen, with a few of them being heavily based on fixed damage, which means that portion of the damage doesn't care about your build stats. It doesn't scale off of attack, and some of them don't even care about which part of the monster you hit when they proc either. The idea is that most of these builds will be templates that fit as many weapons as possible. They won't work for every single weapon in the game, but there are usually some sort of adjustments that you'll want to make it fit your weapon type better, but these are your starting points for getting a billion numbers in your quests. That said, our first build will be the highest potential output that you can hit while trying to maximize these bonus damage procs. The second build will be focusing more on making the actual bonus procs themselves deal more damage while still generally being quite strong. Then we'll have a build for people who can't have the set or group bonus on a gogma weapon available, so the budget build variation, which will also be using a Zoshio weapon to boost the damage of some of our procs as well. And then finally, we've got something special for Greatsword specifically, taking advantage of two bonus damage procs that only exist for Greatsword and for no other weapons in the game. Last thing before we get into this properly then, effects like Flayer, Convert Element, Scorcher, and Bad Blood have a bunch of attacks they do not work for. This list has gotten smaller and smaller over time, but this is the full list of attacks that do not proc the effects, and so if you are using these builds, I highly recommend trying to adjust your moveset and what you actually use to using less of these attacks if possible without completely ruining your damage. And just to mention it, yes, I know Legiacris set bonus exists, and it is technically an extra damage proc too, but it only triggers the damage once every 50 seconds or so, which means while it is an extra number, it is a very infrequent extra number, so I will be prioritizing other options over it for these setups. For weapon, the two main builds will be built around a gogma artian weapon, and I'll just consider a relatively standard weapon setup for this, which is going to be element focus on the weapon, 4 attack reinforcements, and 1 sharpness reinforcement. If you have 1 affinity instead of an attack reinforcement, that is fine. If anything, it is a bonus with the affinity numbers that we're hitting here, but that is sort of the general thing that you're aiming for. The set bonus that we want from this is Rathalos for the Scorcher set bonus, but the group bonus actually isn't required at all, as all of these builds get Lord Soul naturally from the armor choices we're going with here anyways. As for what element, if you are doing quests below 9 star, then you could actually play with a blast weapon, which would technically be more damage procs, but 9 star and above has such high status thresholds that it's not really worth it, and instead the best pairing for these builds is a dragon element weapon. Technically you always want to try and element match whatever the weakness of your target is, but we'll be running 3 convert element in the build, which specifically boosts dragon element as well, so it synergizes more with dragon than it does with anything else. First build of the day then, highest effective raw while going with lots of bonus damage procs. The armor for this one is arkveld Gamma Helmet and Chest, New Udra Gamma Arms and Legs, and then Guardian Rathalos Alpha Waist Transcended Up. The God Roll talisman that we're using here is 3 attack boost, or whatever your weapon would want in that slot instead, with 1 weakness exploit on it. If you don't have that talisman, you could just use the crafted Agitator charm, the Challenger charm, and swap out the 1 burst decoration that we have here for the final rank of weakness exploit instead, which would be solid value as a build as well. But I'll be mathing around the God Roll here. For Mantle, the only one that results in actual bonus numbers is Corrupted Mantle, which adds bonus hits to a number of the attacks in your moveset, so while active it fits perfectly into the theme of these builds, which is maximize optimizing numbers. Another option would be the Rocksteady Mantle, and this helps keep resentment active for the new Udra set bonus, and also lets you be a little bit tankier while it's up as well. For the decorations then, in the weapon I will be counting crit boost 3 in one of the slots, critical eye 3 in another slot, and the other slot will be considered open for whatever weapon specific stuff you would put in here for your weapon type. If you don't need a weapon specific thing, you could just finish off crit boost here. If you have higher than 0% affinity on your weapon, for instance if you have an affinity reinforcement roll, it actually becomes better to get critical boost 5 in those slots instead of the critical eye 3. But at our affinity, crit boost 3, crit eye 3 is the better split. For armor decorations, 3 mighty jewels for full ranks of maximum might, 1 Flayer jewel for the first rank of Flayer, Flayer being one of our bonus damage procs, but also being a lot stronger after it was buffed in Title Update 4. 1 chain jewel for the first rank of burst, as that's totally worth having for the majority of weapon types, then 2 counter jewels to finish off counter strike to full ranks 2. That would leave you with 3 1-slot sockets open for utility, and then whatever slots you have in your talisman on top of that too. Full skill list is 4 attack boost, 3 critical boost, 3 critical eye, 5 resentment, 5 weakness exploit, 3 counter strike, 3 maximum might, 3 convert element, 3 speed eating, 1 burst, 1 flare, 1 blight resistance, 1 windproof, and then the Rathalos 2-set bonus, the new Udra 2-set bonus, the arkveld 2-set bonus for occasional healing, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. For the math on these, I'll be considering a generic perfect roll gogma artian weapon like we talked about earlier, so element focus with the rolls that are 4 attack and 1 sharpness, which would mean 247 attack on the weapon and neutral affinity. 247 attack increased by 5% for Lord Soul group bonus, then increased by 2%, getting us to 264.29 attack total because of attack boost 4. 8 bonus attack also from attack boost 4, then I'm counting 5 resentment as 10 attack on average. You need at least 1 resentment to make new Udra set bonus work, so you'd want 1 resentment, and this build just comes together with 5 resentment pretty naturally from the armor. Resentment as a skill is something that you can have up very often on easier quests just in general because you don't need to stop to heal a whole lot, but on harder quests it will only be high uptime on weapons with counters and hyper armor attacks. It will have middling uptime for weapons that guard frequently, and then low uptime for weapons that do none of those things. So I'm averaging out at around 40% uptime for math here, as that just seems fair to me. Another 25 attack then for counter strike rank 3, which has different uptimes for different weapons, but a lot of them can keep it near full uptime. Then 8 attack for burst rank 1, which most weapons can keep at the full bonus for any meaningful damage openings at least, bringing us to 315.29 attack. 0% affinity base, 30% extra for weakness exploit rank 5, 30% from maximum might rank 3 when you're at full stamina or for a couple seconds after as well, and then 12% for critical eye rank 3 to 72% average affinity. We have 3 critical boost, which is 34% bonus to raw damage when critting, so 72% chance of that is equivalent to a 24.48% attack increase throughout a hunt. Apply that to our attack number for 392.5, increase that by a further 32% for the white sharpness damage modifier up to 518.1 total effective raw, which compared to our previous numbers builds that we talked about last time, I want to point out that this not only has weakness exploit instead of latent power, so the affinity is much more consistent, but also we get convert element 3 over convert element 1 or 2, which is the best that we could reasonably get in these builds before. On which note, here's the element for the build 2. It will be different for each weapon type of course, but you can get up to 60 from burst rank 1 at the full bonus depending on weapon type, and then convert element has a max uptime of 57%, which means that it would average around 102 element gained over the course of a hunt if you are using a dragon element weapon. Beyond that, we have Flayer, we have the new Udra set bonus, we have the Scorcher set bonus, and we have the actual procs from convert element itself too, all as bonus damage that will pop up that isn't counted into our effective raw and will just add up over the course of a hunt as long as you are hitting the monster. Next up, we have our build that focuses more on making the numbers bigger than it does on your actual effective raw, but still within reason of course, as I don't want to recommend builds that aren't at least good to take into any difficult fight, if not fantastic, even while focusing harder on the gimmick itself like we are here of many big numbers. For this one then, armor is new Udra Beta Helmet, arkveld Gamma Chest, Guardian Rathalos Beta Arms, new Udra Gamma Waist, and arkveld Gamma Legs. Charm on this one is 3 attack boost with 1 weakness exploit, but if you don't have that, the best crafted charm is just straight up weakness exploit charm here, which would finish off our ranks for that skill in this build. For decorations then, in the weapon, 3 critical boost and 3 critical eye for the best balance of crit chance and crit damage within this setup. Then on the armor slots, 2 counter decorations to finish off counter strike 3, 3 Flayer jewels to get to Flayer rank 5, as that is the best option of bonus number proc to focus on actually boosting and increasing the damage from, as it boosts the damage of Flayer 1, which is 140 damage when it procs, up to 400 damage when it procs with Flayer 5. Then we have 3 mighty jewels for full ranks of maximum might, and 1 tenderizer jewel for an extra rank of weakness exploit. This leaves you with a single 1-slot socket remaining for utility, and any spare fire slots in your talisman as well. Full skill list is 4 attack boost, 3 critical eye, 3 critical boost, 5 Flayer, 3 weakness exploit, 3 counter strike, 3 maximum might, 3 convert element, 3 blight resistance, which is a lovely bonus, 2 burst, 1 resentment, 1 ambush as another bonus that will provide a little bit of extra damage. I won't count ambush in the math, but it's not a bad bonus to have regardless, so it's worth mentioning. We also have Scorcher 2-set bonus, Bad Blood 2-set bonus, Hasten Recovery 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group set bonus as well. For the math on this one, we will go much quicker as you've already seen my process. 247 attack on the weapon as a base, increased by our percent bonuses up to 264.29. Add on our flat attack increases to bump it up to 309.29. For our affinity, 0% base on the weapon up to 57% average from our skill combination. 34% bonus damage from crits happening 57% of the time is an average attack increase of 19.38%. Apply that to our attack for 369.2, increased by 32% for white sharpness modifier up to 487.4 effective raw, which is around 6% lower effective raw than the first build, with the main trade being that you get an extra rank of burst for a slight boost to element, and 5 ranks of Flayer instead of only 1 rank of Flayer, which makes the Flayer procs again hit for 400 damage instead of 140, and they happen frequently enough that this really isn't actually that much worse than the first build is when you consider that. As an extra note here as well, that if you really don't think that you would get much uptime on resentment, this build could be better than the first build if you just swap out some of the Flayer for more weakness exploits. Thought I'd mention that option here too while we're talking about it. Third build of the day then, the same general concept of many numbers, big numbers, but still decent effective raw, and this time done with a fully crafted setup, so using the Shatterseal weapon, which also lets us have the White Flame Torrent unique weapon skill, which boosts the hell out of Scorcher damage procs, essentially adding a load of bonus proc damage to this setup. But the actual effective raw is going to look a fair bit lower on this one from the math. That said, Guardian Rathalos Beta helm as well as gloves here. Then we have new Udra Gamma waist and legs, and the Arkveld Gamma chest on top of that, with the weakness exploit charm is going to be the finisher for our setup here. If you have a god roll charm that is 3 attack or whatever weapon skill that you want for your weapon, and then a weakness exploit as the second skill, you can remove 2 agitator decorations from our build and then finish off weakness exploit in those slots as the best way to adjust it upwards. But as this is the crafted set, I will be mathing around a crafted talisman. For decorations then, 3 critical boost in the weapon. I will leave the other slots open for whatever you might need for your weapon specific needs. In the armor, 2 challenger jewels for 2 ranks of agitator, 1 Flayer jewel for the first rank of Flayer, 2 counter jewels to finish counter strike up to 3 ranks, and 3 mighty jewels for the full ranks of maximum might. Then a 1 slot socket open for utility. Full skill list is 3 critical boost, White Flame Torrent, 5 weakness exploit, 3 counter strike, 3 maximum might, 3 convert element, 3 speed eating, 2 resentment, 2 agitator, 2 burst, 1 Flayer, 1 blight resistance, and 1 ambush, along with Scorcher 2-set bonus, new Udra 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. For the math on this one, quickly once again, 220 attack on the weapon itself, increased by 5% for Lord Soul up to 231. Add on our flat attack increasers up to 275.2 attack total. For affinity, we have 5% base on Shatterseal weapon, boosted up to 68.25% average affinity. We have critical boost rank 3, which makes critical hits a 34% damage increase. 68.25% chance of that happening is 23.2% increase on average, so apply that to our attack to get 339.1. Increase that by a further 32% for white sharpness modifier up to 447.6 effective raw total. This means it's around 15% lower effective raw than the first build that we went over today, which is not a small gap, so there's a clear jump from having a good gogma artian weapon for the setup, but this also doesn't account for any damage gained by having White Flame Torrent as a weapon skill added into our bonus damage proc pool. So again, while effective raw numbers show this as much less damage, in reality it's probably closer to about half of the gap that it looks like due to the increased damage from having White Flame Torrent in the build. Final build then today is leaning a little bit even further into a gimmick here, which is working around the Shatterseal Greatsword specifically, which has an extra damage proc when you do a level 3 charged attack, which is just a big explosion on the ground that hits anything nearby. So that is another bonus proc of damage that we haven't had involved in these builds so far, but we'll also be using the 2-piece Bale set bonus in this build too, which will give us an extra damage proc too, because Greatsword level 3 charged classes will fire out projectile waves as well. That said, we get 2-piece Bale instead of the 2-set that Scorcher bonus, partially because Greatsword doesn't work great with Scorcher because the attack frequency isn't overly high, but also Bale 2-set is genuinely fantastic with Greatsword, so this is a Greatsword specific pivot off of the same ideals that we've been building around in every build so far today. That said, Shatterseal Greatsword is the weapon, armor pieces are Bale helmet and waist, the arkveld gamma chest, and new Udra gamma gloves and legs. This gives us the Bale 2-set bonus, the new Udra 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. The God Roll talisman for this would be 3 attack with 1 weakness exploit, and the replacement if you don't have that talisman is just regular weakness exploit charm, which fits very nicely into our skill list because it would just give you weakness exploit 5 without any other changes being done. Just giving us maximum ranks of that, which is really good to have. For decorations and the weapon then, for the actual weapon here that we have, it has focus by default, so we go critical boost 5 with critical eye 3 for our choices here. For decorations in the armor, 1 Flayer for that first rank of Flayer, 2 counter jewels to finish counter strike to 3 ranks, 2 tenderizer jewels for some extra weakness exploit, and 1 mighty jewel for the final rank of maximum might, which then leaves you with 5 whole 1-slot sockets for utility as well, and anything that you might have on your talisman is also open slots. Full skill list is 5 critical boost, 4 attack boost, 3 critical eye, 3 focus, shattering reflection, 5 resentment, 3 weakness exploit, 3 counter strike, 3 maximum might, 3 convert element, 3 speed eating, 2 constitution, 1 flare, 1 blight resistance, and the new Udra 2-set bonus 2. Bale 2-set bonus, and also the Lord Soul group bonus. For the math on this one, going quickly once again, 210 attack base increased by our percent bonuses up to 224.7. Apply our flat attack increases with a note that for Greatsword I'm counting resentment at 80% uptime, and that gets us to 269.7 total attack. For affinity, 0% base up to 57% average crit chance. Full ranks of critical boost makes a critical hit boost damage by 40%. 57% chance of that happening is 22.8% bonus damage on average. Apply that to our attack to get 331.2, then increase by a further 32% for white sharpness damage modifier up to our final effective raw of 437.2, which is a bit lower even still than the previous build, but with the note that Greatsword gets fantastic value out of the new Udra set bonus and resentment, as well as the bonus procs from Shatterseal, from Bale 2-set being the extra projectiles too, and those are worth a lot more than what they are replacing from a non-Greatsword build that is also crafted. So again, the effective raw of this makes it look a fair bit weaker than it is, and I would say this is more in line with the output of our second build today than anything in a practical scenario. Maybe a little bit behind that, of course, but definitely better than the generic crafted set that we just went over beforehand. That just about does it for today then. A set of fun builds that won't necessarily be the ultimate meta choice for any given weapon type, but are built around the gimmick of having as many bonus number procs from skills and effects as possible because that's fun. And then also, of course, maximizing effective raw within that constraint to make the build still actually usable. I hope you've all enjoyed the video then, and I hope you enjoy using these builds in-game as well. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.